We'd like to say welcome once again. It is a weekend, and we are here with the Gracious Hope podcast. I am your host, Alexander Red. And today we are speaking to caregivers, the helpers, the family members, the ministry leaders, the healthcare workers, and all those who quietly carry the weight of others. And so today we want to understand that caregiving is an act of love, but love can become heavy when a caregiver has no support, no rest, and no space to breathe. Our special guest today is Tamra Stokes, the Authentic Caregiver Coach. She is a speaker, advocate, and coach who helps caregivers and individuals navigating life transitions, move from exhaustion to empowerment. Her work focuses on resilience, boundaries, compassion, fatigue, healing, self care without guilt, and rediscovering identity beyond the caregiving role. And so today, our guest is phenomenal in a way that we can talk more about what she always does about the caregiver. That is, she is also the creator of the BYOB framework, which means bring your own binder, getting our lives together. It is a practical approach that helps people regain clarity, organization, and peace during difficult life seasons. We'd like to say, Tamara, welcome to our podcast for today. And of course, it is a pleasure to have you on a Gracious Hope podcast. Okay, let's see here. All right. Your microphone off a little bit, but it's on now. Welcome once again to the podcast.
Okay. Is that good?
Yes, it's all good.
Great.
All right. It is a pleasure having you here this afternoon or this evening, may I say, based on other areas where they have different time zones. Tamara, before we talk about caregiving, burnout, boundaries, and your BYOB framework, I want our listeners to know the person behind the work. So the question then is, what led you to become the Authentic Caregiver Coach, and why is this work so personal and important to you?
Excellent. Thank you. Well, I'm going to flip the script in the sense that why this work is so important. I was a caregiver for 4.5 years for my mom, who had early onset dementia. And she had some other medical issues as well. But I stepped away from teaching because I wanted to take care of my mother. And if I could just back up very briefly, my mom was widowed for over 55 years. And it was nothing for me to quit my job because of all the sacrifices that she made in our lives. I'm the youngest of two, have an older sister. And so I wanted to serve my mom just as she served me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. And was there a moment when you realized that caregivers or you yourself as a caregiver needed more than encouragement? That also you needed the tools, the language, and permission for yourself or those others who are caregivers as well?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I made it my own word. It's called franger. I was full of fear and I was angry because I did not and could not find the resources that I really needed to do the work that I had sort of stepped into. I had a lot of fear because I did not really know what I was doing. And so I realized that in my learning and growing, there are other people who would need the same information. And that's how I became the Authentic Caregiver Coach, by creating and sharing the resources that I acquired on my caregiving journey to help others on their path.
Okay. So let's look at the hidden weight of caregiving. Now, caregivers often look strong from the outside, but inside, they may be tired, grieving, anxious, or overwhelmed. sometimes people praise them without really helping them. So the question here is that what are some of the hidden burdens caregivers carry that families, churches, and communities often overlook?
Oh my. I that you hit the nail on the head of all those things that we are toting. But as you said, assumption.
Mhm.
Assumption would sum it up in one word. People see us on the outside and they think that we have it all together, but really we are just trying to make it look good. But we are lacking a lot of resources. Um, and because we can't find the resources, because you may have just been thrust into that role, um,
Mhm.
you end up being in a silo because you don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
So you don't even know what to ask for, right? And so you
Yes.
just start to handle things the best way you know how.
Wow. And sometimes it's like a burden for most of the caregivers, and they have a whole lot of hating pain that they go through. But why do you think so many caregivers suffer silently instead of saying,
Mhm.
"I am not okay"?
That is a heavy and a very much so loaded question. Again, as I said, the fear, they don't know what they don't know. If there is some type of a relationship issue, like I didn't really get along with my parents or something, and now I have to care for my parent, I don't want to
Mm,
do this. So there is some hidden anger and trauma that could be present. And so you have to dig through all of that stuff. And that was the beauty that I learned in my caregiving journey. I had to do a lot of self healing so that I could serve my mother better. And
mhm.
caregivers really have a boundary because I can't ask anyone. A lot of times you don't have anyone to ask. You're doing it alone. So you have to figure it out. But that this network of caregivers is growing and you don't have to do it alone.
Yes, you don't have to do it alone. And when it comes to compassion, fatigue, and burnout, one of the topics you speak on is compassion, fatigue, and caregiver burnout. Now, those words are important because many caregivers do not know what to call what they are feeling. They may think they are falling or failing when they are actually exhausted. So then the question is, how do you explain compassion fatigue in simple terms? And how can a caregiver recognize the early warning signs before burning out takes over?
Excellent. So compassion fatigue is basically in a nutshell, you are tapped out. You have nothing left in your reserves. Your glass is empty and it has a hole in the bottom. And so you are exhausted emotionally, you are exhausted physically, um, you are exhausted probably financially, depending on your situation, and
Yeah.
possibly even spiritually, because why me? Why am I being called to do this work? And I don't really want to do this work. I want to live my life. And so you establish a new normal. And the longer it takes you to establish the new normal, the longer you're going to be in a state of suffering, if you will, because that fatigue is real. And so
Yes.
you once you accept the fact that I have a new normal and I have to operate in a new normal, it makes your journey that much easier.
Yes. And when we talk about new normal, what are we talking about? There's some activities they have to do if they feel so heavy, like
Well,
small things.
yes, it means taking some time to myself when I know that I have when I'm at over my
Mhm.
limit, I need to take some time, even if it means going into the restroom and taking some breaths. If it means taking a walk outside to let the sun shine on my face, just to feel the warmth and know that I'm not alone in this struggle. And looking for the good. In my case, my mom was suffering with a dementia. She got to the point of she always knew who I was, but she was repeating things over and over, and it does start to work on you. And so what I accepted was the fact that she is a different person. She is not the mother, the woman who raised me, because she's in a different mental place. And
Yes.
so accepting that and knowing that she is no longer in my world, I have to be creative and meet her in her world.
Yes, and that is important. And that, of course, brings up the point about the term we always use called empathy.
Mm.
And I had a visit at one of the nursing home facilities, and I saw some, older folks, elderly people there, and I spoke with few of them. And what I discovered was that they had anxiety problem, they had depression problem, they had cognitive problem like um, forgetting memory issues. And so when I was leaving, I thought to myself, I said, but they were never like that. And now they are like that. So the whole term about having empathy and understanding or accepting them as they are and treating them with compassion, it is something very, very important to consider. Now, let's talk about your mother a little bit here. What have you learned from your mother's condition and your caregiving to her? What would you like to share? Any specific story that will inspire others?
Wow. You know, I had my moments where I cried because she was different. My mom and I were buddies. We
Mhm.
were travel buddies, and we loved to do car trips. And it got to the point where I had to take the keys away. That was hard. But before that, that stepping into the parental role was even harder because I was the youngest. And so as the youngest, you were catered to. And so to step into that space, to be the adult, to take on the adult roles and not know, not have a manual, not have any assistance, um, it was challenging. She would let me know, I'm still your mother, but she recognized also that I was here to aid her, to support her, to help her, and to keep her safe. I must say, and I will say, because um, oftentimes the world, society
Mhm.
starts to prey on
Yeah.
our elderly. And that started to happen with my mother. And so that was another reason I had to step in with the quickness because she was starting to get caught up in these scams. And I received a phone call from the police to say, come get your mother. she needs some help.
Wow. Well, that is an experience, and I believe that others who have mothers in such medical condition or health condition, they can pretty much relate to what you are saying here. Because as a caregiver, your learning experience from the home, as I may say, because of your mother, you are empowered and inspired to help other people. And when we look at family, we look at self care without guilt, taking care of families. And in many families, and even in some churches, self care is misunderstood. Some people think taking care of yourself means you are being selfish, but biblically, rest is not selfishness. Even Jesus withdrew from the crowd to pray and rest. So that the question, Tamara, is why do so many caregivers feel guilty when they take care of themselves? And how can they begin practicing self care without feeling like they have failed someone?
Healthy boundaries is knowing your limits.
Mhm.
Um, and when you first step into this role, you don't know what your limits are. You're just trying to, at least for me, I can speak for myself. I
Yes.
wanted to serve my mom to the best of my ability. And that meant going outside of my boundaries until you have those days where you can't get up because you are just so tired. Putting bumpers in place to indicate and notify you when it's too much. Setting
Yes.
a timer could be one thing. When you start to snap at people, that's not you normally. That's not how you normally function. And so that's a limit saying, I need help. I need to have someone come in just to sit for a second if you can't leave your loved one unattended. Or, even from the church community to have some active supporters, not just giving lip service to call and say, oh, just checking on you, but, dropping in and bringing a meal, perhaps. Say, hey, I'll sit with your mom, your dad, or whomever it is you're caring for while you go and just take a walk, even if it's to the end of the driveway or around the block or something. But knowing your limits so that you can ask for help.
Yes, and I knowing the limit is always important because you have to be emotionally and physically aware or remain vigilant or on alert, or all of your sensibilities will have to be alive in order for you to care for somebody better or someone else take care of them. Now, what will you say to the caregiver who says, I know I need rest, I still feel wrong every time I take that rest? What would you say to that caregiver?
You can't give from an empty cup. As they say on the airplane, put your mask on first and take care of
Mhm.
yourself before you try to help anybody else. And
Yeah.
statistics say that caregivers tend to have a shorter life than the person they are caring for. In other words, they tend to die sooner,
Mhm.
unfortunately, because of all of the stress and the weight. We live in a world that money talks. And a lot of times, caregivers are doing this for free. They are not being paid. And so the fiscal part could
Mhm.
really outweigh and cause a lot of stress on people, as well as the taking care of the medical situation for your loved one. It's
That
it's a
is an
slippery slope.
Yeah, it is an astounding report that caregivers live less and those that they're giving care to live longer. And all of the emotional entanglement, like the
Mhm.
stress, and some of the stories that I hear from those they gave care to kind of have some impact on them when I hear some of those stories, sometimes sad, regretful, of guilt. And if you put all of that together as a caregiver and you mingle that with your own personal obligations like home and husband, family, that's a lot. And that is understandable. Now, someone who is listening to you right now feels that, well, I want to get into caregiving and I want to go to school for it. What kind of encouragement or what encouragement would you like to give that person, given the astounding report or statistics that this job is full of too much of, or this work is full of too much of stress?
So let me share a quick little tip. As
Mhm.
I was caring for my mother, because I was not working, I also participated in a coaching course. I was going through a coaching course and I had to unpack a whole bunch of stuff that I didn't even really know existed. But through
Yeah.
that caregiving course, I got got rid of a lot of baggage, my own personal baggage, and it opened up space so that I could truly care and give that care and love to my mom.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So
Go ahead.
I saw a
Go ahead.
screen disappear, so I thought, am I supposed to keep
No,
talking?
no, you are live. Sometimes we do overlay and put some pictures and other things just to let the viewer know what we are talking about and who we are talking
Yes,
to. That's
yes.
fine.
So
So go
as
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was going through the program, I noticed I felt lighter. I felt like I had, and not felt like I experienced more compassion to serve my mom, to be more patient and give myself more grace when I got tired. I could say, I need just a second, mom. Can I just get a little bit of time? I need to go take a nap. And so those are things that I had to learn, unfortunately, the hard way. But when I went to the support group, and this is something that I strongly encourage people to do, is to take part in a support group, whether it's at a church. That is where I had my first support group.
Mhm.
And it was a wonderful collaborative community building situation because all of the people there were caregivers for someone with memory issues. My mom would also attend, but she attended one where the loved ones went and they worked together with a counselor as well. But
Mhm.
in that space, it is such a powerful and sacred container because everybody understands what you're going through. And
Yeah.
even if my loved one has not reached the capacity where they are, I am seeing and hearing, you know what? I thought I was in a bad situation, but you never know until you see what someone else is going through. But my heart became more open to be able to
Mhm.
receive that, the love, and I had a higher tolerance for patience because I was not the patient one growing up. So I changed. And then going to these support groups, a lot of the people would say, you're not the typical person going through as a caregiver. I had my struggles, but I also voiced my struggles. I did not hold a lot in. So I learned how to be an advocate for myself and for my mother.
So what does it do not to holding all of those things that you're going through to learn how to be patient, to pretty much persist or on things that you know that are important to be a better caregiver? What is the benefit of speaking it out or saying it out for others to know or sharing your struggles with others?
One is not taking up space. So now I have space for love. I have space for grace for myself. I have space for compassion. And by not blurting it out, I have a low space for the resentment, having guilt because I said something I really didn't mean. It flew out of my mouth in a state of just a heated state.
Mhm.
I have that, emotional intelligence where I have a little more control over how I'm going to respond. Because our loved ones, when they are going through this, their mind changes, the brain changes, they sometimes will blurt out some things. They don't mean it. Again, they're not the person who you knew them to be. And so by me getting angry at them, they can't help it. So it's again, that whole new normal every day is you have to reestablish your new normal.
Mhm.
And you're rebuilding and recreating who you are because you have to, show up and present as a different, more loving person in order to serve your loved one as well.
Truly, truly, and that's true. And I have a question here for someone who was born in West Africa, and to
Mhm.
be specific, Liberia. He has a question here. He said, before coming to the United States from Liberia, which is West Africa, I heard that clients at nursing homes were generally mean and sometimes racist towards African caregivers. When I briefly worked at a nursing home, I had a different perspective on it. I saw clients suffering dementia who could not even recognize their own children during visiting hours. If those people don't know their own children and relatives, how can they even know you? Do you think some of those patients were inherently mean or racist? That's a question to you, Tamara.
So I think some of those patients. So,
Uh, mhm.
okay. So here's what I'm going to say. I never worked in a, okay, thank you for putting that up. I never worked in a actual nursing home. However, my mother was in a nursing home and it was not one that I would have chosen. But when she was coming out of the hospital and she was placed in a particular rehab facility. Now, all facilities are not created the same. We know that. And
Yes.
this particular place would not have been my choice, but that's where we landed. I was there every day. I had the, capacity to be there every day. Um, I know many people do not. Again, expressing your concerns when you see them puts it on alert for the nursing home because they are monitored by higher, authority. And so
Oh,
if
yeah.
there is something that is not being done on the up and up, it is your, right to bring that to their attention. And there should not be any kind of fallback on your loved one. But again, you are there to advocate for them. But writing things down, I always kept the notebook with me and I documented and I wrote plenty of letters if things did not go the way that I felt were, fair. Thank you for that comment, that question.
Yeah. Thank you, Riverset Pro. Thank you for asking that question. And also here we have Hadiatu C. Jallo. She said, caregiving is patience.
Hmm.
And you have to have passion on the field. And that is a reality, Hadiatu. I know you said this topic we're talking about here resonated with you. And I believe you must have experienced it one way or the other, and that's why you're reacting or responding to our conversation here. We'd like to thank you so much. And all of our listeners who are listening, we'd like to say thank you so much for listening. This is the Gracious Hope Podcast. We are here every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm your host, Alexander Red. And our special guest today, she has a wealth of knowledge when it comes.
Well, if we're still live, if we have some caregivers out there, um, make sure you are expressing your love to your loved one. Even though they may not know who you are, they still can hear. For the most part, that's one of the last sensories or senses that go. And so they can always hear you. When my mom was literally on her deathbed, I was able to whisper, I love you. I love you and thank you for all that you did for me, for my sister. Because even though she couldn't really respond at that point, we were talking like hours away from her transition, I knew that she could hear me. It is a very difficult job to be a caregiver, but I would not change anything.
Okay, I am back. For some reason, I'm not sure what happened. Technology, the screen got frozen, and I didn't know what to do, but I had to restart. But anyway, we'd like to apologize for the technical difficulties that took place. But we are back here. I would like to say welcome for the second segment of the program. And all we are talking about here is about emotional awareness as a caregiver. And I would like to share with you here this book. This my new book is coming up June
Ooh.
28th this month. June 28th is about how to manage your emotion. And this book will be
Perfect.
available on the QR code is right up here. As you can see, you can scan it on your phone, and then you can go to my author's page, and this book will be ready. And this book is all about recognizing your your emotions or your emotional feelings as important signals, not shameful flaws, responding with wisdom instead of reacting out of pain. Use prayer and scripture to find clarity in the storm of life. Build self awareness rooted in the truth, not self criticism. Surrender, control, and let God steady your heart. And cultivate an inner life of grace, peace, and Christ like maturity. So, this book, How to Manage Your Emotion, is going to be coming up on June 28th. Don't forget to get a copy. Go to Malik's, that is malikspublishing.com. Let me put the logo here on the screen for you to see. That's it right there. Malikspublishing.com is going to be there June 28th. You can get a copy. And for all of you from Liberia, don't forget, this is my fast selling book. It's called The Nation's Soul, Why Liberia's Future Depends on Restoring Its Moral Center. Now, this book traces all the moral erosion, all the things that are happening in our country that crack the foundation of our values and our virtues and where we are today, and what are some of the ways that we can come together as a people for reconciliation, healing, and reconstruction of our country. So this book is available at Malik's publishing.com, and also you can get a copy on amazon.com, and it's called A Nation's Soul, and this focuses on Liberia. But lastly, this one, I believe all caregivers and pastors and also people in the church that take care of people. Look, this book is about trauma counseling. Okay, this is a proof copy here. It's about trauma counseling. Now, if you want to understand how to be a trauma counselor, please get a copy. It is coming up in July 28th. This will be coming up, and it's called Faith-Based Trauma Counseling, a practical guide to healing wounded hearts. And this book, of course, a lot of pastors have been talking about not knowing how to counsel people facing trauma. They can preach, they can teach, they can do other things, but they are not professional when it comes to counseling or psychological techniques for their congregation. So it will be a very helpful resource for you. So we'll be right back. Don't go away. This is the Gracious Hope Podcast. We'll be right back. Don't go away with our special guest. All right, and we are back. And so we have our special guest here, Tamra Stokes. She's the Authentic Caregiver Coach. She's also a speaker, advocate, and coach who helps caregivers and individuals navigating the transitions of life, moving from exhaustion to empowerment. So she focuses on resilience, the boundaries, the fatigue, the healing, the self-care without guilt, and rediscovering identity beyond the caregiving role. She has a whole lot to share here. And of course, she is the creator of the BYOB framework. And that means bring your own binder, getting our lives together. And so we continue here. Continue to make your comments, and don't forget to share our video here with your friends, your families, and your loved ones. And so we are back here, Tamra. We want to, thank you so much for taking these questions and sharing a whole lot here about what you do and how important it is to share what you know and what you've been doing all along. So let us take a look here at healthy boundaries for caregivers. And I know you talk a little bit about that. You gave some tips here and there, but how can they set those boundaries without feeling harsh, guilty, or uncaring to themselves?
So those boundaries means finding something for you to do to make sure that you are always taking care of yourself, because it is so easy to get caught up in the silo and to
Mhm.
not reach out to help or to receive help from others. And actually, when people call you and say, "Hey, can I help you?" You really don't know what to say. So this is not to the caregivers, but this is to the people out there who know someone who's in a caregiving role. Go over, be a little aggressive but gentle, and help them out, because a lot of times they are so overwhelmed they don't even know where to begin. So those
Yes.
healthy boundaries are making sure you take care of them. And what is it? Let me see. I have to make sure I get it right. Galatians 6:2, where we
Hmm.
actively support each other. And that looks different in a caregiving role, because sometimes that person they're caring for, they may not be able to be left. So that person is 24/7 watching and caring for that person. That's
Yeah.
something that I would love to see happen. And there's so much value in the community. So other people, a lot of times people won't even say that they're a caregiver. You find out by accident. And so if you share that you are in a caregiving capacity, you'll be amazed at how other people come around to support you because they are a caregiver as well. And so you have stories to exchange and share. And that was uplifting and supportive for me as a caregiver, as I learned different people who were in that caregiving role. You're bonded. Once you say you've been a caregiver, you are in a caregiving role.
Yeah. Families also push back at times. And let's be honest here. Sometimes when a caregiver finally sets a boundary, the family does not respond well. They may say, "You have changed," or "You do not care anymore." That can be painful, Tamara.
It is painful. And I'll be very honest. My sister and I grew up we participated in sports together all the time. And through this whole ordeal, she
Mhm.
lives in the Atlanta area. I'm in North Carolina. My mother was in Ohio. I moved my mother from Ohio to stay with me here in North Carolina. And in the beginning, when we were setting her up, getting all of her doctor's appointments and financial accounts shifted over to North Carolina, my sister was very helpful. I was the power of attorney and the medical. My sister was a durable, so she took care of the paperwork and online things. But as my mother her health started to decline, I noticed our conversations, there was more space between our conversations with my sister and I. And
Mhm.
one thing my mother did not tolerate was any kind of consension and any kind of back and forth. And so when I noticed my mother was on her last few days of being on this planet, I reached out to my sister and I said, how are you feeling? So I shifted the focus from me to her. And I said,
Mhm.
how are you feeling? And I heard her voice quiver, and I know that that meant she was really struggling with it. And this is a part that I learned through my journey, is that I cannot force anyone else to feel or be or act in a certain way. I'm only responsible for me. And I used to say, if you try to put a square peg in a round hole, all you're going to get is splinters, and splinters hurt. And that's what you were saying. So when you remove yourself, I'm not taking it personal anymore. And I took it personal in the beginning, and that caused a rift between us. And then I
Mhm.
realized she has boundaries just as I have boundaries, and I have to respect her boundaries. And one of the things is she really just did not want to see mom in the condition that she was. And I get that. I get that, but she was still our mother. And so by me just being aware and
Mm.
moving, not making it about me, but making it about the care of our mother, it took that weight or that burden or that angst off of the dynamics that started to creep into our relationship.
Hmm. And in our process, you are also inclined to remain loving and firm at the same time. How do you balance that?
Very delicately, very delicately. I don't, you think, take a pause before you want to express. That is
Mhm.
always good because once the words come out, you can't take them back. We know that. A lot of times people want to start to, I'm going to say, vomit out things that they've been holding in for a long time, especially your loved one. They start to
Mhm.
tell you things that you're like, what? Who? So again, you hear it and you just sort of let it roll off, and then you deal with it in your own space. But the biggest thing is understanding where that person is coming from. Was it listen first,
Mhm.
understand where are they coming from, where is this going, this conversation, and then respond in a very loving way. And sometimes that is not easy. It's
Yeah.
not easy sometimes to respond. And sometimes, as my mother would say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Can't say anything at all. That's right. That is something that is, I believe, it's a norm. I believe that we have to take into consideration. So let us look at rediscovering identity beyond caregiving. Now, caregiving can become so consuming that a person begins to lose touch with who they are. That whole identity becomes
Oh, yeah.
appointments, medication, meals, crisis call, and responsibility. How can caregivers begin to rediscover their identity beyond caregiving role?
Ooh, that is a beautiful question. Thank you. And the biggest thing is to always keep in the back of your mind or the forefront
Mhm.
something you love to do, whether it's
Hmm.
coloring in a coloring book, doing crossword puzzles, listening to some music. Motown is always a good thing to put on, or some drums or some easy listening music, something that brings you joy. And try to really do that one time, maybe two times a day, if not more, because that's going to make you smile, not just on the outside, but on the inside. Remembering that you are valuable. When I
Yes.
first, the after my mom passed away, because she lived in the house and her bedroom was right across the hallway from mine and my husband's. And that next morning, I woke up and I reached for the door and I thought, there's no reason for me to go in there. But for 4.5 years, that was the routine. I would go in every morning and do our morning routine, do her eye
Mhm.
drops, do her blood pressure, do, all of the medications and things like that. So you're sort of kind of on this wheel of doing, but then it stops
Yeah.
immediately. So I had
Mhm.
to maintain, okay, who am I? And for a while, I had to take a step back just to recalibrate myself and to or I should say, resurrect myself and who I was. I had to redefine what kinds of things did I want to do? What do I want to get involved in? Do I want to volunteer? So you are having to recreate yourself after that task, that role is no longer.
Yeah.
So
And
always keeping something you love.
yes, yes. And those are small steps. And so if a caregiver is listening to you right now, they may ask you, could you please share small steps that will help a caregiver reconnect with their joy, purpose, and parts of themselves that have been pushed aside?
Absolutely. Give yourself grace. You've been doing a lot of hard lifting for a long time, whether it's a month or not, it's intense. And so you have to relax. Even birds, before they take off in flight, they have to go down. They take a dip down before they take off. So use that time. if you are in that caregiving role, to give yourself grace. And after your role is over, give yourself that space to breathe. And when I say breathe, breathe deeply.
Yeah.
Do something for yourself. Go for a walk. And one of the things is to ease back into society, because a
Yeah.
lot of times we want to jump back to what our normal was before we were put into this role,
Hmm.
and you overdo it, you overshoot, and then you're back into this tired space. And one more thing, and I want to bring it up because I am the Authentic Caregiver Coach. We don't like to talk about it. Sometimes we can end up in a state of depression because you have been giving, 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 and your life is so different. So when they're gone, you feel like you have nothing. So that's when I love that you just did that about the book and the counseling and things like that. But seek out a counselor. There is no shame. Drop the stigma. Go and talk to someone, your pastor, a therapist. But even if you feel like you don't need it, because when I thought I was too big for my britches and I don't need to go to see anybody. Yes, you do. Yes, you
Yeah.
do.
I agree. And at times, we want empowerment after we have been exhausted in every way. Now, your message helps people move from exhaustion to empowerment. And that phrase is encouraging. But for someone who is deeply tired, empowerment may feel far away. So then the question is, what does empowerment look like for a caregiver who is exhausted and does not know where to begin?
Start small. Start small. Seek out help, because even though, again, you don't think that you need that support, you do. If you had friends, because they will disappear a lot of times because your life is so different from them if they are not in a caregiving role.
Yeah.
Maybe call somebody up, or friends, if you're listening, call the person who was in the caregiving role up. Go out and have lunch with them or coffee or whatever you do, and just ease back into your life. Support groups are always great. They have them that you can find them online. They do them virtual now. And a lot of times you don't even have to have your camera on because they're anonymous. So you can just listen to what other people are processing and how they are navigating through that role. But all in all, you also have an opportunity to pivot after going through such a trying thing. You have an opportunity to pivot and redefine, recalibrate yourself. And that's
Yes,
important.
that's important because it brings clarity, support, and peace of mind. And that's very important. Now, as a creator of BYOB, Bring Your Own Binder, I want us to talk about your BYOB framework, Bring Your Own Binder, getting our lives together as it is. I love this because caregivers need inspiration, but they also need organization. Sometimes peace begins when the papers, the contacts, appointments, and important details are finally in one place. Now, what is BYOB framework and how does it help caregivers and people navigating life transitions regain clarity and peace?
Oh, yes, yes. So BYOB started because, one, my background as a teacher, and
Mhm.
everything was in a binder. And so as I started to process mom's personal paperwork, her financial paperwork, her medical, her insurance, all of these different things had to have a landing spot. And I didn't have, because remember, you were like on a very thin, or to say a very short fuse. And so I started to put everything together so that when it was time to go to the doctor and they asked you for something, like, oh, I don't have that. So I had copies of her social security card, her insurance card, her medical card,
Mhm.
everything that I needed, her ID card, um, everything was there in that binder, along with her after visit summaries, all of her labs, anything that I needed, the power of attorney, because they will ask you for that in some instances. Everything was there. I also had a notebook that I carried with me every single doctor's appointment. And
Mhm.
each page was a doctor's appointment. And I split the page sort of kind of when you do your notes. I took all the notes of anything that they went over, plus if I had questions prior to us going to that particular doctor or specialist, I would write them down so I wouldn't forget, because they have what, all of 10-15 minutes to be with
Mhm.
you in the room. So I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that my questions were being answered so I wouldn't walk out and say, "Oh, I forgot to ask them about." So that is how I came up with BYOB, bring your own binder or build your own binder, so that you will have everything in one spot in a binder.
Okay. And we're talking about a caregiving, we're talking about the church, the community, and the care for caregivers. Because this is the Gracious Hope podcast, I want to bring the church and community into this conversation. Churches often care for the sick, and we should, but sometimes the caregiver sitting beside the sick person is quietly disappearing. What can churches, what can families and communities do better to support caregivers in practical and meaningful ways?
Ooh, I love that question. Are you sure you're ready for this one?
Yeah.
Actively support caregivers. As I said earlier, do not give them lip service. They need to see your face. They need to feel your arms around them. They need to feel their hand in your hand, because they feel like they are doing it all along. Just to sit with them allows them to even cry. Depending on the person that's coming, it may open up the wellspring so that they can cry and just release all of that stuff that they are holding on to. So it doesn't have to be a lot. Just if you say you're going to show up or stop by, please do that, because they're counting on you. Because I want to talk to someone. It's like, I guess, a young mother with babies. I just want to talk to an adult. I want to talk to someone who can talk back and hear me, whether it's just to hear me vent or just to sing with me, pray with me, right? It
Mhm.
just, the little things mean a lot. They go a long way.
Yes, yes. And it is practical and meaningful that way because we know the environment is for every one of us. And the more we help each other out, we fulfill the role of our faith. Because love your neighbor as you love yourself is about having that horizontal relationship with people to manifest our faith in action. And that is very important. And just simply saying, let me know if you need anything. I like for people to say that, especially if they find themselves in that environment with people, with other people.
And customize your support, because everybody is going to have different needs. So if you know your people,
Mhm.
customize the support that you're offering them. Some people want a phone call. Some people don't want you coming in their homes. So be
Sure.
respectful of that.
Yes, yes. And then we have a question here quickly before we close here. We have a little limited time now. This listener is asking, how do you cope with the mental and physical strains that come with caregiving? Have you experienced stressful moments that made you want to quit giving care?
Oh yeah, your buttons get pushed, you get triggered, but I know that there is something bigger than me that I have to do. And that means me letting go of I'm going to say it, the ego, selfish things, and
Mhm.
focusing on what my task is, which is to provide care and safety and serve my mom with dignity. And so what I'm feeling goes to the wayside for a moment, but that lets me know also that that's something I need to deal with. But the mental and physical strains, they're going to be there. And again, that's why you go to your community. That's why you go to your counselor. And that's why you go to prayer.
Indeed. Is there any final word that you would like to say out before we close this program today?
No, thank you, caregivers. Please seek out a support group. There are many that are out there. You are not alone. There are many caregivers that are coming out and voicing and showing their love because we know we've been there. It's a live experience, and we want to support you and help you. You are seen.
Tamra, there has been a healing and a necessary conversation. You have reminded every one of us that caregivers are not machines. They are people with hearts. They are people with bodies, emotions, limits, and needs. And they can look deeply and still need rest. They can serve faithfully and still need support. They can be strong and still need someone to stand with. To every caregiver listening right now, hear this clearly. Your labor matters, but your life matters too. And you are not invisible to God. You are not weak because you are tired. You are not selfish because you need help. You are not failing because you need boundaries. And that is why Jesus said in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And that invitation is not only for the person receiving care, it is also for the caregiver. And so we'd like to thank you so much for being here with us. And of course, our special guest, Tamra Stokes. We'd like to thank you so much for joining us here today. It was a pleasure. And there's a lot that I learned from you.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes. And to all those who are listening, please share this link with your friends, your groups, so that they can be a part of this conversation. Your work is timely, wise, and deeply needed. And to all of our listeners, once again, share this episode with a caregiver, a pastor, a family member, a nurse, a ministry leader, or anyone walking through a difficult transition. Until next time, this is Pastor Red, and may the grace of God strengthen you, steady you, and give you hope for the road ahead. And just before I go here, I will also like to remind you once again, this book is coming up. It is called How to Manage Your Emotions. This is very timely because your emotions are not the enemy. Unintended they can be. So you can grab a copy on June the 28th. Okay, please grab a copy from malixpublishing.com. And for you all from our homeland, Liberia, this is A Nation's Soul, tracing the moral erosion of our country. And I provided a lot of steps, some pillows that we all can see how we can reconcile as a country and reconstruct our country for unity and stability. So this is available at malixpublishing.com, or you can go to amazon.com and get a copy. And lastly, for all pastors, caregivers, don't forget about trauma, okay? Faith-based trauma counseling, a practical guide for pastoral care. And this book will be available July 28th. You can get a copy at malixpublishing.com. That is my personal website, or amazon.com on July 28th. And a lot of pastors have been talking about, the need to understand what it means to help people who are experiencing trauma in that church or in a community. So this is a helpful book. I've done a lot of research, and with my background in counseling psychology, both from the secular and the theological studies, I have been able to formulate steps that you can learn and share with people who need you. So don't forget to get a copy of that. Until then, we'll see you again next week, Saturday at the same time. And of course, don't forget to share our link with your friends, your families, and your loved one. And this is how we say goodbye for today. Thank you, Tamra, for coming.
Thank you.